The receptionist looked at me with the kind of pity that hurts more than anger. "Ma'am, I'm sorry. There's no reservation under your name." I stood there in the middle of the Gatlinburg Lodge lobby, still holding the suitcase handle I had dragged through 4 hours of mountain roads, and I felt my stomach drop. I checked my phone. The family group chat was full of pictures. My mother, Linda, smiling beside the fireplace. My father, Robert, holding a mug of coffee with the Smoky Mountains behind him. My sister Catherine laughing in the snow. They had all arrived yesterday. They were all enjoying the vacation. And somehow, I was the only person who wasn't expected to be there. I forced a smile. Maybe it's under my parents' name. Robert Miller. The receptionist typed. Nothing. Linda Miller. Nothing. My heart started beating faster. No, that can't be right. Behind me, I heard a familiar laugh. A laugh I had known my entire life. My sister Catherine. "Oh wow," she said. I turned around. She was standing there wearing a designer jacket, holding a cup of hot chocolate, looking like she had just stepped out of a holiday magazine. "Rosalind," she said with fake surprise. "You actually came." I stared at her. "What do you mean?" She looked at the receptionist, then back at me. "You didn't check before driving all the way here." My eyebrows pulled together. "Check what?" Catherine tilted her head. "Mom and Dad only booked the rooms they needed." The way she said it made something inside me go cold. "The rooms they needed." She smiled. "Yes." A pause. Then she said the words that changed everything. "The real family rooms." I felt like the entire lobby went silent. I looked around. People were laughing near the fireplace. Children were running around. Snow was falling outside, but all I could hear was my own heartbeat. "Catherine, what are you saying?" She shrugged. "You're always independent, Rosalind. You always say you don't need anyone. So Mom figured you'd handle yourself." I stared at her. My own sister. The person I grew up sharing a bedroom with. The person I protected when we were kids. "You're telling me my parents drove 4 hours here knowing I was coming, and didn't get me a room?" She looked uncomfortable for half a second. Then she whispered, "Don't make a scene." That sentence hurt more than anything. Because my entire life, my family had treated my feelings like an inconvenience. My name is Rosalind Miller. I'm 32 years old, I live outside Asheville, North Carolina, and I built my entire life without asking my family for anything. I paid my own college tuition, bought my own house, built my own career. I never asked my parents for money. I never complained. And somehow, that became the reason they thought they could forget me. Or maybe they didn't forget. Maybe they decided. My phone buzzed. A message from my father. "Dad, Rosalind, don't overreact. We assumed you would get your own place nearby." I stared at the screen. Nearby, in the middle of the Smoky Mountains. During a holiday weekend, every hotel was packed. I typed back. "Me, you knew I was coming." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, "Dad, you're making this bigger than it is." That was the moment something inside me changed. Because I realized something. They weren't sorry. They were annoyed that I noticed. I grabbed my suitcase. Catherine looked relieved. "I knew you'd understand." I looked at her, and I smiled. Not because I was okay. Because I suddenly understood. "Don't worry, Catherine," she relaxed. "I won't ruin your vacation." Then I walked outside. The cold mountain air hit my face. The snow fell harder. For a few minutes, I just stood there. A 32-year-old woman standing outside a lodge where her own family was staying. Feeling like a stranger. Then my phone rang. I looked down. It was Grandpa, my grandfather, Walter Miller. The only person in my family who never made me feel like I was too much. I answered. "Hey Grandpa." There was silence. He always knew when I was pretending. "Rosalind," he said quietly. "What happened?" I swallowed. "Nothing." He laughed softly. Your grandmother used to say you had your mother's smile and my stubbornness. The smile hides things. The stubbornness gives them away. A tear rolled down my cheek. They forgot my room. Silence. Long silence. Then Grandpa asked, "Who forgot?" I looked back at the lodge. My family was visible through the windows. Laughing. Together. Without me. Mom. Dad. Catherine. His voice became different. Not angry. Something worse. Calm. "Where are you?" "Outside the lodge." "Stay there, Grandpa." "Rosalind." I stopped. I said stay there. Then he hung up. I stood there confused. What was he going to do? He was 78 years old. He lived 3 states away. He couldn't magically fix this. Or could he? 40 minutes later, a black SUV pulled into the parking lot. The door opened, and my grandfather stepped out. Wearing his old brown jacket. The same one he wore when he taught me how to fish. He walked straight toward me. No questions. No anger. He just opened his arms. And I finally broke. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "For what?" "For causing problems." He pulled away and looked at me. "Rosalind, never apologize for wanting a place at your own family's table." Those words stayed with me. Then Grandpa picked up my suitcase. "Come on." "Where?" He smiled. "I'm about to remind your family what they forgot." We walked inside. The lobby went quiet. My mother saw him first. Her face changed instantly. "Dad." My father stood up. "Walter, what are you doing here?" Grandpa didn't answer. He walked to the front desk. The receptionist recognized him. "Mr. Miller." "Yes." He placed a folder on the counter. "I'd like to confirm my granddaughter's reservation." Everyone froze. The receptionist opened the folder. Then her eyes widened. "Yes, sir." Grandpa looked at my parents. "I reserved a room for Rosalind 3 months ago." My mother blinked. "What?" Grandpa smiled slightly. "I knew she would come." My father frowned. "You booked her room." "No." He looked at them. "I booked her place." The room became silent. Then Grandpa said something that none of us expected. "Actually, I booked the entire lodge." My mother's face went pale. "What?" Grandpa tapped the folder. "I bought the vacation package for the family." Nobody spoke. Because suddenly everyone understood. The rooms. The trip. The dinners. Everything. Grandpa paid for it. And yet somehow, they decided one person didn't belong. My father looked embarrassed. "Walter, this isn't what you think." Grandpa nodded. "You're right." He looked at Catherine. "It's worse." Catherine crossed her arms. "Why are you acting like Rosalind as the victim? She always separates herself." Grandpa turned toward her, and his next words made the entire lobby silent. "Your sister didn't separate herself." Pause. "She survived being left out." Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then Grandpa handed me another envelope. "Rosalind, this belongs to you." I looked confused. "What is it?" "Open it after dinner." I stared at him. "Why?" He looked at my family. "Because tonight, everyone is going to learn the truth." And for the first time in years. My family looked nervous. Because they knew Grandpa wasn't done. Not even close. And I had no idea that the envelope in my hand contained a secret that would destroy the perfect family image they had spent years protecting. The Thanksgiving dinner 3 months later would be the night everything finally came out. And my parents would wish they had given me a room. Because they were about to lose something much bigger. Their lie. I didn't open the envelope that night. Not because I wasn't curious. Because I was scared. My grandfather Walter had always been the calmest person I knew. He was a man who repaired old watches, grew tomatoes in his backyard, and believed every problem could be solved with patience. But that night, standing in the lodge lobby, I saw something I had never seen before. Disappointment. Not anger. Not rage. Just disappointment. And somehow, that was worse. My family moved through the vacation like everything was normal. They laughed during breakfast. They took pictures near the fireplace. They planned hiking trips. But something had changed. Every time my father looked at Grandpa, he looked uncomfortable. Every time my mother tried to talk to me, she looked like she was searching for an excuse. And Catherine avoided me completely. The old Rosalind would have tried to fix everything. She would have said, "Mom, it's okay. Dad, I understand. Catherine, don't worry." I had spent years making other people comfortable. But this time, I didn't. I just watched. And I learned something painful. When you stop begging people to value you, they suddenly notice your silence. On the last night of the trip, Grandpa found me sitting outside the lodge. The mountains were covered in snow. The trees were quiet. The sky was full of stars. "You still haven't opened it," he said. I looked at the envelope. "I'm afraid." He sat beside me. "Of what?" I swallowed, finding out that I was wrong. He looked at me. "About what?" "That maybe they really didn't mean it." Grandpa sighed. "Rosalind, your heart is kind. But kindness without boundaries becomes a place where people come to take from you." I looked down. "Why didn't you tell them you booked my room?" He smiled sadly. "Because I wanted to see what they would do when they thought nobody important was watching." That hurt. Because he was right. People reveal themselves when they think there are no consequences. I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. And another document. The letter was from my grandfather. I read the first line. "Dear Rosalind, if you were reading this, then something happened that made you question whether you belong." My hands started shaking. He continued. "When your grandmother passed away, I watched this family change. Your mother became obsessed with appearances. Your father became obsessed with success. Catherine learned that being chosen mattered more than being kind." I stopped reading, because it was exactly what I had felt for years. But I kept going. "You were the only one who visited me every Sunday. You were the only one who asked how I was feeling instead of what I owned." A tear fell onto the paper. Then I saw the document. It was a copy of a trust agreement. My name was on it. I looked at Grandpa. "What is this?" He didn't answer immediately. Then he said, "Your grandmother and I created a family trust years ago." I stared at him. "What does that mean?" "It means the house where your parents live, the business your father runs, the vacation properties." He paused. "They were never theirs." My heart stopped. "What?" Grandpa looked at the mountains. "Your father struggled when you were children. I helped him. I gave him opportunities. I built things so my family would have security." I looked at the paper. But, over time, they forgot the difference between receiving a gift and owning it. The next morning, everyone gathered for breakfast. My father smiled. "So, Walter, are you staying another day?" Grandpa smiled back. "No." My father looked relieved. Then Grandpa continued. "I'm staying until Thanksgiving." Everyone froze. Thanksgiving was 3 months away. My mother frowned. "Why?" Grandpa looked directly at me. "Because there are things this family needs to discuss." My father laughed nervously. "Dad, don't make this dramatic." Grandpa simply said, "I'm not the one who left my granddaughter without a room." Nobody laughed. 3 months later, Thanksgiving arrived. 22 family members filled my parents' dining room. The same house Grandpa helped them buy. The same dining room where I used to sit quietly while everyone praised Catherine. Catherine arrived wearing a new dress. She hugged everyone. She barely looked at me. Then my father raised his glass. To family. Everyone smiled. Everyone except Grandpa. He placed his glass down. "Before we celebrate family." The room went quiet. "I think we should talk about what family actually means." My mother immediately looked nervous. "Dad." But he continued. "I want everyone here to know something." He looked around the table. 3 months ago, Rosalind drove 4 hours to join this family vacation. Everyone looked at me, and when she arrived, she discovered there was no room for her. A few relatives looked shocked. My mother whispered, "Dad, please." "No." His voice was calm. Today, she gets to finish a story everyone else tried to rewrite. The room was silent. My father looked angry. This is ridiculous. Grandpa opened a folder. No, what's ridiculous is making a person feel unwanted in a home they helped support. My father's face changed. What are you talking about? Grandpa looked at him. Do you remember the year your company almost collapsed? Silence. My father didn't answer. Rosalind was 24 years old. She gave you money from her savings. I looked down. I never told anyone. My father's eyes widened. That was different. Grandpa nodded. Yes, it was. He looked around the table. She helped you when she had nothing to gain. Then he looked at Catherine. Do you know what she did? Catherine shifted. I don't know. She paid your college apartment because your parents couldn't. Catherine stared at me. What? I said nothing. Grandpa continued. She bought your graduation gift. She helped your mother after surgery. She never told anyone because she didn't want praise. The entire table was silent. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Rosalind. For once, she looked ashamed. Then Grandpa placed the trust papers on the table. And now we discuss what belongs to whom. My father picked up the papers. His hands started shaking. You can't do this. I can. You're threatening us. No. Grandpa looked tired. I'm correcting something. My father looked at me. Did you know about this? I shook my head. No. And that was the truth. I didn't want their house. I didn't want their money. I just wanted to matter. Grandpa spoke softly. I created this trust with one condition. Everyone looked at him. The family members who receive from it must treat each other like family. My mother whispered. So what happens now? Grandpa looked around the table. The person who was forgotten gets to decide. Everyone looked at me. My father. My mother. Catherine. All waiting. For revenge. For punishment. But I surprised them. I said, I don't want the house. My father looked shocked. What? I don't want your money. I looked at Catherine. I don't want to take anything from anyone. Grandpa smiled slightly. Then what do you want? I looked around the table. The people who spent years making me feel like an outsider. And I finally said, I want everyone to tell the truth. Nobody spoke. So I started. I was hurt when you forgot my room. My voice shook. But not because I needed a bed. I looked at my parents. Because you proved that I was always the person you expected to understand. My mother started crying. My father looked down. Then Catherine whispered. I didn't know. I looked at her. You didn't want to know. She started crying. And for the first time in my life, my sister apologized. Not because Grandpa was there. Not because she was embarrassed. Because she finally understood. I'm sorry, Rosalind. The room stayed quiet. But it wasn't the painful silence anymore. It was the silence after something broken finally starts healing. Months later, things changed. Not perfectly. Families don't transform overnight. But my parents started calling. Not when they needed something. Just to ask how I was. Catherine and I slowly rebuilt our relationship. And Grandpa, he kept his promise. He never let anyone forget one thing. A family is not the people who share your last name. It's the people who make room for you. Years later, I returned to that same mountain lodge. The same lobby. The same fireplace. But this time, my entire family was there. The receptionist recognized me. She smiled. Back again. I smiled. Yes. She looked around. Everyone made it. I looked at my family. My parents. My sister. My grandfather. And I answered, yes. Everyone has a room. And this time, nobody was forgotten.